A careless and irresponsible guy ends up in prison where he spends 5 years dreaming every day of the day when he can get free and take revenge on the people who broke his pregnant girlfriend's life. The young man is in the detention center where he improves his body while the local authority twirls his bracelet meaningfully in his hands. The alarm sounds and the guy goes out into the common corridor where he is already waiting for the crime boss's underlings. The man immediately joins the fight and scatters his enemies to the approving shouts of the other prisoners. Despite the number of attackers, he persistently makes his way to the exit to the courtyard, where he catches up with his enemy. Having scattered all of his helpers, the guy engages in the main battle, wins, and gets his bracelet back. At this time on the coast of Gaul, a man consumes substances in a small restroom of a local cafe, and coming out begins to sing karaoke to the approving applause of the bar owner. The owner tells him that his business is going very well as he deals in illegal substances in his cafe chain. But recently, one of the new waiters refused to engage in the lucrative earning and the owner had to kill the guy. The cheerful customer laughs along with the owner, and then a gunshot is heard, which is rushed by a policeman standing at the entrance of the cafe, and he catches the customer over the owner's body. But then he discovers that the visitor is his boss, Inspector Agash, notorious for preferring to get rid of known criminals by killing them and faking their death as resisting a policeman. This time too, he preferred to physically destroy the substance distributor rather than take him to the police station. A man's voice calls him outside the cafe and informs him of his impending murder of the policeman and wishes him a happy solstice. At this time, Michael, a cop who plays by the rules, is having dinner with his family. Relatives overlook the strained relationship between Michael and his wife Theresa and praise the couple, lamenting that they still have no children. Theresa leaves to get cake. Michael follows and sees the woman texting someone on the phone. After waiting for her to leave, the man reads the correspondence, becoming convinced of his wife's intentions to leave him and tie her life to another man, but he does not pretend to know her secret. At this point, he receives a report of the death of his friend and colleague Victor. The policeman was badly beaten before his death and then hung over the entrance of the house. At the scene, Michael meets Agash, who wants to find and eliminate the killer, while Michael intends to imprison him. In the background comes footage from which it becomes clear that the policeman has been beaten and killed by a recently released guy who has been injected in the neck. Agashi warns that this will be the longest night for them, while the killer unties the knot on his bracelet and with a red hoodie over his head, walks away from the crime scene. Time rolls back 5 years. A young girl, Sarah, packs up her things, gives her gadgets to a beggar and leaves home, while Advait does the same at the same time. Leaving the past life behind, they go. The young people have fun, attend parties, use illicit substances a little at a time, and live the life they want, until one day at one of the rave parties their paths cross. The couple goes to another party where they meet a girl named Jessica. They have a great time dancing and swimming in the night sea, and in the morning Sarah tells Advait that she doesn't want any serious relationship because he is just one of the knots on her bracelet that symbolize her triumph over her fears. He has helped her overcome her loneliness, and she has untied it, but now she is going her own way. The dumbfounded guy discovers that the girl has no phone, which means he is unlikely to find the beauty. The action shifts to Christmas Eve. After the murder, Advait goes to Jessica's house while the station is interrogating a suspected substance distributor. The guy stubbornly denies his involvement. Agashi pulls out a gun and demonstrates that the weapon can serve as a hammer or screwdriver. Further examination of the gun is interrupted by Michael. He is adamantly against such methods. A scuffle ensues between the police officers, and the frightened detainee confesses that he was hired by a white girl with tattoos and dreadlocks. She is immediately put on the wanted list, and Agashi is reminded of the man in the red hoodie who showed up on the camera footage from Victor's house. At this point, Advait calls on Agash's phone again. The dealers won't help find him, but he will easily find and kill another police officer. Advait again wishes happy solstice. The officer on duty reports that the call is from the place where the carnival is now going on and half of their squad is partying. Agashi rushes to the scene, getting an APB on a man in a red hoodie as he tracks down a policeman on parade. He technically drags him into an alley and beats him as dozens of police cars rush to the scene. The officer begs not to kill him, citing his family, but Advait breaks his arms mercilessly, and then the man is stabbed in the neck and flies out the window, right at Agash's feet. For a moment, the policeman and the murderer meet, but Advait slips away, taking advantage of the masquerade. The action shifts again to 5 years ago, when Advait encounters Sarah again on the oceanfront. The guy cautions, the cliff is unreliable, and Sarah intends to conquer her fear of heights. And holding hands, the pair jump down and then untie the next knot. The two fall in love with each other and decide to travel together as vagabonds. They have a great time on the ocean, swimming, sunbathing, and partying. Sarah doesn't want to live like her parents, in perpetual toil and childcare, and Advait generally likes to live with her. Gadgets. The couple makes a deal. Live only for themselves, with no obligations or promises. And for a while, they succeed. The young people enjoy being young, having fun, the wonders of nature, and beautiful evenings. They get over their fear of heights together by skydiving and untie the next knot. One day at a party, Jessica gets sick and asks for a shot for too much substance, since she always carries a loaded antidote syringe. It turns out that she makes her money by selling herself. She too once came to go as a tourist, but this life overwhelmed her. This incident makes Sarah reflect on life and think of her parents and Christmas. Advait, lifting the girl's spirits, takes her to someone's house where they put on beautiful outfits and have a Christmas party. And all this Advait recalls as she walks through the fun-filled streets of the city, while the police discover that several years ago the dead officers, along with another of their colleagues, were investigating a substance case, after which a man named Advait was imprisoned, and a woman named Jessie was involved in that case. At this point, Michael lashes out at the journalist after he says courage should be shown to his wife. I guess she doesn't understand his colleague's behavior and sends him home, but then word gets out that the third of the trio is at the stadium at that moment. The police rush there, but Advait is already on the stand and finds his victim and his escort in the hallway. At this time, Michael tracks down Jessica and goes after her. Suddenly, the lights go out in the hallway, the fire suppression system goes off. Advait opens fire and kills everyone but his enemy, who runs to the roof. Moments later, the policeman falls from a height onto a parked car. Michael catches up with Jessie at her house, while Advait runs into the underground parking lot. Jessica douses the walls with fuel, and Agashi sees Advait standing calmly in front of his car. Michael, who bursts in, manages to see the burning pictures on the wall, from which he realizes that he too is the object of revenge. Agashi prepares to shoot Advait, but he suddenly kneels down and surrenders to the police. The firefighters take Michael out of the fire and report Advait's arrest. On the way to the station, Agashi tries to figure out why the guy surrendered, since he could have gotten lost in the crowd, and his face seems strangely familiar to him. 5 years ago, Sarah discovers she is pregnant. That same evening, she witnesses a conversation between a young girl and her father, who turns out to be Agashi. Trying to convince her father to leave her alone, the girl records a video message, not noticing that Sarah is clearly visible in the background. A frustrated Agash, meanwhile, tells his assistant that the previously released criminal needs to be caught and locked up again, as the law requires, at which point the cops go on an operation to capture the dealers. And it turns out to be the same party where Sarah and Advait are. A shootout ensues, and Agashi's daughter gets shot and dies in her father's arms. Sarah, seeing Agash break down over her daughter's death, understands her parents and decides to keep the child. She informs the boy, and he runs away. Agasha, experiencing her daughter's death, comes to addiction and personality change. Advait travels, meets other girls, but constantly remembers Sarah. One day he visits his friend and witnesses his touching relationship with his wife, and he rushes back. But Sarah isn't home, so he runs to find her at Jessica's. He hears a noise outside the door and bursts into the room. Present tense, there's no evidence on Advait, he's not on any camera. There's nothing to charge him with. Agashi offers to shoot him, allegedly while escaping, but Michael insists on a confession. He goes to the interrogation room, where Michael's past and what really happened to Sarah and Advait is revealed. His friends tease the marriage-ready Michael. He's still a virgin. What if his bride doesn't like him? And they advise him to go to Jessie. But he goes to Theresa, and when she touches him, refuses intimacy before marriage. Fearing that his lack of sexual experience will make him look ridiculous, Michael goes to Jessie, who has Sarah temporarily living with her. Michael mistakes Sarah for her and pulls out the money. The girl is outraged, and the policeman beats her up because he can't be a man. Just then, Advait comes in and finds Michael trying to strangle Sarah. He intervenes and calls the police. The officers who arrive take Advait and Sarah to the bridge, and to avoid a scandal with Michael, whom the victims intend to report, are brutally beaten. The girl is injected with a lethal dose and thrown into the river, wishing her a happy solstice. Advait is also injected and thrown in jail on charges of distributing substances. These days, Michael tells Advait that his father was very abusive and his mother took it out on the child, so he lost his manhood. He hid this fact as best he could, even getting married. Sarah, realizing the truth, signed her own sentence, and today he killed Jessie, and it was better than love. The three of them are murderers. Only Agash and Advait don't enjoy killing, and Michael thinks it's the best feeling in life. Unable to stand it, Advait beats the scumbag, but the cops grab him. A satisfied Michael hands the man over to Agash, who is going to drive Advait out of the station and kill him. Before he leaves, however, Michael wishes Agashi a happy solstice, which makes him wonder about the reasons for Advait's revenge. He keeps revisiting his daughter's latest footage and finally remembers where he saw the couple. Agashi drives Advait to the same bridge where it all began, while Michael returns home and sees that Teresa is about to leave him and begins to beat the woman. Advait tells Agash that Michael and his friends killed Sarah. Michael prepares to kill his wife. Advait says that he gave himself up for Michael to go home, where he will be killed. At this time, Michael begins to strangle Teresa. Agashi doesn't understand who can kill Michael if the killer is here. And Michael is suddenly injected with a drug in his neck, and when he turns around, he sees Sarah, alive and well, wearing a red hoodie. The flashback shows that Jesse saved Sarah by injecting her with the antidote, but she lost the baby. For 5 years, Sarah and Advait planned their revenge together, and all the murders were carried out by them together. Suddenly, Agash is informed that Michael has been murdered in his own home. He reluctantly releases Advait for lack of evidence, and Teresa tells the police that she saw a man in a red hoodie but cannot identify him. Advait and Sarah find peace and start a new life. The film ends with Agash receiving a call from an unknown woman informing him of an impending murder, just as Advait informed him. A new generation of Indian films where one single collective dance was shown after the credits, and kissing appeared on the screen, though very chaste. But all in all, a beautiful melodrama with elements of a cool action thriller, with intrigue, mystery, and an unexpected ending.